Poly webinar for international students who will start their study at Polytechnic Montreal in the fall of 2022. My name is Cedric, and I am a student in Master Degrees of Mechanical Engineering. But today, mainly I'm speaking to you as a member of the Student Service Squad, more precisely as a part of the Go Poly Back to School team. You may be wondering what does mean that Go Poly member? Well, we are a group of experienced students who work in collaboration with Polytechnic Montreal Student Service to offer support to new students like you, as you our future student at Montreal Polytechnic Montreal. You will see us all over the school running our errands Go Poly during the back to school season. It is forever with great pleasure that we welcome you to Polytechnic Montreal University. As well, we'll be happy to welcome you our campus in Montreal at the end of August. You are probably making your final preparation to join us in Canada. If I put myself in your shoes, I imagine that you must be feeling very exciting today, but a little bit stressing at the same time about what arrived in Canada today. Webinar today, named Entry to Canada, will provide you more information on immigration documents, COVID-19 rules, and much more it will be. But followed by a question and answer period. At the end of the presentation, you will be able to ask your question in the section question answer in the chat, and you will will come back to your question orally and to answer to this question. And I want you to know that if you have any question that which is not concerned entry in Canada, it can be about study plan, it can be selecting course. Please, I want you to let you know that at the end of the presentation, there will be more information. There will be the will show you the email that you can send your question that which is not concerned that entry in Canada. But please note that the recording of this webinar will be available on the GoPoly website in the webinar and welcome activity section. That if you already missed some of the presentation, that example, student part, and you don't know, you are wondering why. So don't worry, there is a question for you. We already prepare all for you, and we have all for you. So with that, I would not like to take you so time because I know that you're already excited to listen the presentation. So let me introduce you, the host of the webinar. For that, we have Mrs. Emily Ferland and Mr. Mathieu Saint-Jean, both international student advisor for Polytechnic Montreal Student Service. And Mrs. and Mr. You have the floor for our new student that at Polytechnic Montreal are excited to listen to you, and you have the floor.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar regarding entry to Canada, which aims at preparing you for your arrival in Canada. So take it so that it can take place under the best condition possible. We would like to make it clear at the outset that in the event of a discrepancy between what is presented today and what exists on official sources such as the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada site or the Canadian Border Services Agency site, the latter will take precedence. The information provided in this presentation is valid as of the date of this webinar recordings, which is August 4th, 2022. We ask that you remain aware of any changes that may occur between the recording of this presentation and your arrival in Canada. We are your hosts today, me and my colleague Amélie, and we will introduce ourselves a bit. So Amélie, you can go first for the introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Amélie Ferland. I'm an international student advisor at Polytechnic's Student Services. I've been here for 8 years working with international students just like you, and I'm really glad to be here with you today.
Okay, thank you, Emily. My name is Mathieu, as mentioned here on the slide. I've been working here at Polytechnic Montreal as an immigration advisor for the last 6 months. Before that, I was working at HEC Montreal for a few years. So it's my real pleasure to be with you today and for the presentation. Okay, this is the structures of today's presentation. We will start by a 30 minutes presentation, followed by a Q&A period, which will last around 30 minutes. We invite you to write your question in the chat box, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. We will answer general question. However, should you want us to analyze your specific case, we will ask you to send us an email at scp-international@polymtl.ca. We will show you again the address at the end of this presentation. We will also be able to tune in during our quick virtual consultation, which are usually held Monday through Thursday. You will be able to watch again this presentation and to have access to a PDF version of this presentation so that you can click on the various links. The material will be posted on the GoPoly website in the upcoming days. We will now close our cameras and open them again during the Q&A period.
Before we close our camera, perhaps we can ask our students who are connected with us to write in the chat where they are listening to us from. What country are you in right now? We're Germany, Brazil, Taiwan, Munich. Okay, a
Great.
wide range of countries. Sure that we have some students in Iran, perhaps. We have Sri Lanka, Pakistan. Wow. Okay. All over the world, guys. And I'm sure that for some of you, it's very late in the night. So thank you for being with us today, live.
Thank you, Emily. Good presentation, everyone. Okay, we will start by giving you some information about the immigration process. We are sure that you have already taken all the necessary steps to come and study in Canada and that you are now well aware of the documents you need, but for all practical purposes, here is summary of the documents you must have in your possession before coming to study in Canada. If you are a student coming on a degree program, bachelor's, master, doctorate, or a double degree, or an exchange student for 2 terms, you must have a valid passport, a CAQ for studies, as well as the approval of your application for a study permit, including an electronic travel authorization ETA or a temporary resident visitor TRV. Single-term exchange student may come as student with a valid passport and approval of a study permit, including TRV or AVA, or as visitors with passport, TRV, or AVA. Family members wishing to accompany a student or to join them at a later time in order to live with them in Canada or to help them settle down in Canada should also obtain the necessary approvals according to their future status in Canada. We wanted to give you some explanation about biometrics as we found it confusing for some of you. Providing your biometrics data means going to visa application center abroad to have your picture taken and to provide your fingerprints. Once taken, the biometrics data remains valid for a period of 10 years. Here's who needs to provide their biometric data. Applicants for a study permit exchange students who are coming for a term as visitors and need to apply for a temporary resident visa. U.S. citizen and one-term exchange visitors with a ETA are exempt from providing biometrics. If you were required to provide your biometrics information but failed to do so, your application for a study permit or temporary resident visa will remain pending. Here are the steps to follow in this case. 1, you go to your online account and pay the $85 Canadian fee for the biometrics. 2, you submit the receipt to ERCC via the web form. 3, wait until you receive the biometrics instruction letter and schedule an appointment at the nearest ERCC to provide your data. Please note that the letter may take several days to arrive in your account. Once you have provided your biometrics data, your application will be processed. Let's move on to the issue of immigration processing. If you go to the ERCC website, you will see that the advertised average processing times of 12 weeks, as you see here on the screen. This does not take into account the situation in different Canadian visa offices or CVO. Some CVO have processing times of less than 1 month when the application is complete. Other places in the world have processing time ranging from 4 to 6 months, sometimes more. We know that many of you are still waiting for your application to be processed by the visa offices, and we understand that this wait can be very stressful. But please know that we do not have the authority to expedite application. If you want information on the status of your application or if you need to contact ERCC, you can do two things. One, you check the status of your application on the ERCC website. Two, you write directly to ERCC using their web form available on their website. Please use this means of communication when you have information to send them to update your application or if you have to report certain anomalies. Please keep in mind that the more forms ERCC receives, the less time they have to process application. So use this tool when it's really necessary. Okay, as a reminder, our on-campus welcome activities begin the week of August 22 and classes starts on August 29. The deadline for arrival in Canada to maintain your registration for the fall terms 2022 is September 12th. That's it. Bachelor's, DESS, master's, and PhD students who are unable to obtain their documents in time for the fall will have to defer the admission until the winter terms. Visit the GoPoly site to learn about the deferral process based on your program. Exchange and double degree students should contact the International Exchange Program at the address listed on the screen to find out their option. I think now is going to be Emily's part in the presentation.
Thank you, Mathieu.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mathieu. So we're often asked the question if it's possible to come to Canada as a visitor to wait for the issuance of a study permit when you come to study in a degree program or a 2-semester exchange. The answer is that we strongly advise against it. To study in Canada for a period of more than 6 months, you must have all the required documents before your departure: your passport, your CAQ for studies or its approval, as well as the approval of your application for a study permit. Students who come to Canada with an ETA prior to the approval of the study permit may be refused entry into Canada, which means having to fly back home and only return once the study permit application has been approved. In the event that a border services officer allows you to enter Canada as a visitor, you will have to go to the Canada-US land border to have your study permit issued once your application is processed. If you're not able to pick up your study permit by September 12th, because by that time your application is not processed yet, your registration for the fall 2022 semester will be canceled. For these reasons, we ask you to wait for your study permit to be approved before traveling to Canada, even if you have to postpone your arrival. Just a quick note, Cédric, je pense que ton micro est ouvert et il y a des sons en arrière, donc il faudrait peut-être juste le fermer. So we will now move on to the specific information regarding departure preparations and entry procedures to Canada. So let's start with the luggage. You've probably heard about the many delays and lost luggage at airports around the world this summer. Unfortunately, Canada is no exception to that phenomenon. So if this should happen to you, In order to mitigate the inconvenience, we advise you to prepare a bag that you will keep with you in the cabin that would contain, first of all, a change of clothes for a few days, for example, underwear, pajamas, few t-shirts, etc. We invite you to check the weather forecast for Montreal before leaving. The reason is simple. It's because the temperature is very changeable here. It can be hot with 30 degrees and humidity one day, and the next day it's 20 degrees with rain. So checking the weather forecast just before you leave can help you plan the right clothes so that you're comfortable, basically. By the way, it's very cold in airports and airplanes usually. So bring a light jacket and closed shoes for the trip. This is going to make the trip more enjoyable and comfortable as well. Also, carry your essentials, such as prescription medications, in the cabin with you. Don't forget that if you bring liquids and gel, not to exceed the maximum amount allowed in a cabin. You'll also need to find out the number, the size, and weight limits of your checked baggage. Make sure you're not carrying any prohibited materials. You must use the ArriveCan application from a cell phone or computer to provide mandatory travel and public health information. You will need to file a report using the app within 72 hours of landing in Canada. Once information is submitted, the application will generate a receipt with a barcode that you will need when boarding your flight to Canada and upon arrival. Please note that family members residing in the same household can be included in one declaration. It's imperative that you carry the following documents with you in the cabin, as you will be asked for them upon arrival in Canada. Approval of an application by Visa Office Abroad does not guarantee entry into Canada. The final decision on your admissibility to Canada will be made by a border service officer at the port of entry, who will ask you questions and request to see a number of documents. For example, so you will have to have with you your passport, the approval of the immigration documents, depending on your situation. You will have to have with you the letter of admission to Polytechnique valid for the 2022 semester. And if you arrive later than August the 10th, so after registration opens, if possible, bring with you a confirmation of registration from your online student file. This will help you ease your arrival. Also, bring with you a proof of vaccination that you previously sent by ArriveCan, a receipt of the ArriveCan declaration, your proof of financial capacity previously provided when you applied for your study permit or visitor visa. If they are several months old, it's best to renew them before arriving. Also, and finally, bring with you your address of your temporary or permanent residence in Montreal. We also recommend that you have printed copies of your document in case you cannot access the electronic version of the documents once you are at the airport. We'll now go over the steps you need to take when you arrive at the airport in Canada. You will need to first clear customs at the first Canadian airport you land at. If your point of entry into Canada is Toronto, that is where you will go through the first two steps described in this slide. Please note that each airport has its own particularities, so the process may change slightly depending on where you land. The first step upon exiting the aircraft is to declare yourself at an electronic kiosk, also known as the primary inspection kiosk or e-gate. There you will be asked to scan your passport, you will have your photo taken, and if you had to provide your biometric data, your fingerprints will be checked, and you will have to answer a few questions. The kiosk will then produce a receipt that you must keep in your hand. The second step is a secondary inspection. you'll meet with a border service officer who will ask you the usual questions about why you are in Canada, who will verify your documents, and may inspect your luggage. It's at this stage that you will be issued your study permit, if applicable, and admitted to Canada. The waiting time for this step can be more or less long depending on how busy it is. Once you have passed this stage, you'll be able to retrieve your luggage and exit the secure area of the airport. Before exiting the public area, before exiting to the public area, you will have to hand in your custom declaration receipt obtained at the primary inspection booth to a border services officer. When you arrive in Canada, you may be selected for random testing for COVID-19. If you are selected for testing, you'll receive an email within 15 minutes of completing your customs declaration and obtaining your receipt from the kiosk. It will be sent to the same email address you used in ArriveCan from the following addresses that you see here on the screen. Follow the instructions in the mail. It will provide you with important information about where to get tested. You can test in person or obtain a self-sampling kit at selected test provider locations, at selected pharmacies, or by making a virtual appointment for the self-sampling swab test. The Montreal Airport has an on-site clinic where you can take the test. You can travel to your destination without waiting for the test results, including taking a connecting flight. A written quarantine plan is not required to arrive in Canada, but it is important that each traveler have a place to isolate themselves for 10 days in case they test positive on a random test. Border Services officer may ask you about this, so make sure you can answer their question. If the prospect of going through all these steps is a little stressful, don't worry. There's a service to make the process easier and more enjoyable. Accueil Plus, or Welcome Plus in English, is a free service offered only to new international students arriving at the Montreal Trudeau Airport to study at a Quebec institution. Welcome Plus is designed to simplify the arrival of students. Study permits for students registered with this service are printed in advance, reducing waiting time upon arrival. Students arriving in Canada at an airport other than Montreal's Pierre-Elliott Trudeau Airport will not be able to take advantage of the streamlined route, as they will receive their study permit at the first Canadian airport. The same applies to students who come as visitors, as they do not need to pick up a study permit. However, in this case, we still encourage you to register for the Welcome Plus service, as you will be able to benefit from the services of information agents upon arrival in Montreal, who can give you guidance, orient you on how to get to your temporary lodging, in short, give you a lot of very practical and useful information. To take advantage of this service, you must complete the online registration form at least 24 hours before your arrival in Canada, so that the Canadian Border Service Agency team can prepare the study permit in advance. This service is available as of now, and that until Wednesday, September the 14th. Accompanied international students can register for the Welcome Plus service and go through the streamlined process with any accompanying person. The Border Services officer who will issue the study permit to the international student will then redirect them to the immigration office to complete the immigration process for the accompanying persons. Last information before taking your questions. After your arrival, you'll have to proceed to some administrative procedures with the registrar's office by September the 12th. One-term exchange students will need to provide a copy of their passport, while all other students, regardless of your program, will need to provide their passport, CAQ for studies, and their study permit. If you qualify for an exemption from the International Student Health and Hospitalization Insurance, because, for example, you're eligible for RAMQ, our Social Security, You'll also need to send proof of your exemption to the registrar's office by September 12th. Consult New Student Journey on the GoPoly website for an overview of all the steps to take depending on your profile. So we've completed the information portion of the reminder of the requirements for immigration and entry into Canada. We'll now take questions, but we'll only be able to answer questions of a general nature and not specific to your personal situation. So if you have a specific situation that you would like us to analyze, you can ask us the question by email at the address that you see on the screen, or access our quick virtual consultation times. You will be able to click on the hyperlink once the PDF is placed on the GoPoly website in the upcoming days. So I'll open my camera. And we will start the questions. So Cédric, I'll invite you to ask us the questions that you see in the chat.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much. Let me thank you for your presentation. That's more information that for our new student. I think that they are satisfied to listen this presentation, and a lot of questions already was answered. And we're gonna see for the first question that I'm seeing here, there is a question that I think if you can answer. If you don't need a study permit, do you still need the proof of financial capability?
I would say that yes. I'm thinking that perhaps this student is coming on a one-term exchange if he or she doesn't need a study permit. So in that case, you should still bring with you proof of your financial capacity, just in order to demonstrate to the agent when you arrive in Canada that you will have the financial means to sustain yourself during your one-term exchange. Just remember that students coming as visitors without a study permit do not have the capacity to work while in Canada. So you really have to bring with you the necessary amount of money to sustain yourself during your stay. So the answer is yes. Do bring with you proof of financial capacity because you might be asked at the border to present them.
Thank you for the answer. And to complete this question, that Florian is asking, is an informal letter from his parent accepted as a proof of financial capability?
I would say that an informal letter from the parents stating that they are going to support their child during their stay is important. So they will need to sign it, but it has to be accompanied by some kind of proof. So either, let's say, a receipt from the bank account of the last 3 months showing a certain amount of money at the bank, showing that the parents have the financial capacity to sustain their sons during his stay in Canada. That could be a proof. If the student himself or herself already has saving in the bank accounts, will bring the proof of the amount in the bank account. That's often the case with students coming from a one-term exchange. So all that will serve to prove your financial capacity. I don't know if Mathieu, you wanted to add something or.
No, I think it's pretty much you said it all in your answer to me. It was really clear.
Okay, thank you so much. There is another question that's very exciting. They ask, how much money can we bring with us with ourselves?
That's a good one.
Yeah, if you look on the IRCC website or the Canadian Border Services Agency, in terms of cash money and money in cash, my understanding is that if it's more than $10,000 Canadian, you need to declare it, and it might be complicated. So what we always tell our students is that they should and by the way, coming with a few $1,000s in cash is not a good idea. I mean, it can get stolen, you can lose it. So it's best to come with a certain amount of money in cash, but with a credit card as well, or other means of payment that you can access easily. So that's the best option. Since money transfers sometimes can take a while before being accessible, having with you a few quick access to a few $100s at least to pay for the your first expenses would be important.
Okay, thank you. There is a question. What is TRV? What means TRV?
That's the temporary resident visitor. That's the stamp that some people from some country will need to have in their passport. They have to have this stamp in their passport. So that's their authorization to travel in Canada. So they will need that, or ETA, just as we have mentioned. It's always depending on the country you're from, the citizenship.
Yeah, let's say for students coming from most non-European country, you need a temporary resident visa, TRV. Students coming from the European Union or Australia, very often what they need in order to be able to come Canada is that they are exempted from a TRV, but they need an electronic travel authorization to board the plane and come to Canada by plane.
Thank you. Sima, I don't know if her or he, she's asking that what do you mean that about preparing financial capability?
What we mean is that when you presented your either study permit application or temporary resident application, if you had to apply for a visitor visa, you presented proof of financial capacity. Okay, the agents at the visa office analyze those documents and they determined that you had the financial capacity to study here. But these documents will most surely be asked to you again upon arrival in Canada, because the final decision about your admission to Canada is taken by a Canadian Border Services agent. Okay, so before they issue you your study permit, they might ask you to give again the proof of financial capacity that you presented during your study permit application or your um, visa application. And if those proofs are more than 2 or 3 months old, what we recommend is that you present the same types, but you get more recent ones. Okay, just to prove that you still have the financial capacity to arrive in Canada. If you are a student coming on a one-term exchange from European Union countries, you didn't have to give all these proof because you only needed to get an electronic travel authorization. You applied for it online and you received it very quickly, and this is how you'll be able to take the plane and come to Canada to study for one term as visitors. You would still need, though, to have with you some kind of proof that you have the means to sustain yourself during your stay here in Canada. So bring proofs of financial capacity. If an agent asks you, um, this way you'll be able to prove to them that you'll be able to sustain yourself during your stay.
Okay. There is a question for Helman. I am worried about making visa after deadline. Is there any chance of registration by adapting of visa status? And after making visa, I submit my visa before starting the class?
Okay, I see. Let me just check the question by Elam, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
just not sure about the second part of the question on
Is
my
there
side.
any
Yes.
chance of
After
registration by updated visa? Okay, what I would suggest that Elam does is that she contacts us. either by writing at SCP International, the address that you see on the screen, and or connecting during our quick virtual consultations. So that way we can verify all the details with her and make sure that we answer the question correctly.
Okay, I don't know. This is a general question. As I hear, UBC is preparing a list of the international students who are waiting for their visa and will contact ERCC to speed up the process. Is it true? Can Polytechnic do the same thing?
I don't know what UBC is doing and if they have a special contact with IRCC. I'm very impressed, but because we don't, and I know that my colleagues in other Quebec university don't either. We're all in the same situation here, meaning that since the pandemics, processing times have gone up, and we've had numerous talks with IRCC in the past, not us necessarily directly, but associations of universities and colleges in Canada. And we've always been answered the same by IRCC, which is, there's a lot of application. It's a pandemic. We have very little number. We don't have that much staff on board to process all the applications. So unfortunately, no, it's not something that we can do. And this is what we mentioned in the presentation. However, I do have to mention though, since the last few months, what we've witnessed is that processing times have gotten better. Okay, it's still long in a lot of visa office around the world, but it's much better than it used to be during the highlight of the high times of the pandemic. So so that's it. Unfortunately, that's the answer that I have to provide.
Okay, thank you. The question for Anaita, asking that, can we bring that the cash in US dollar rather than Canadian dollar? If yes, it should be less than or its equivalent of $10,000 Canadian.
But you can bring cash in US dollars if you want, but to my knowledge, it still has, when converted into Canadian money, it still has to be no more than $10,000. I mean, check on the IRCC website though, or perhaps in the Canadian Border Services agent website, because to my knowledge, it's not impossible to bring more than $10,000 in cash. However, if you do, you'll need to declare it and you might be subject to extra scrutiny. So, and once again, we don't recommend people to bring that much cash on them on the
Thank you.
travel.
Thank you.
It's really a risk that you're taking if you
Yes,
lose it.
yes, you can lose it. Yes. Thank you so much. Does the university, question from Mariam, does the university provide any ride from the airport to the accommodation?
No, we don't. No, we don't. So you have to, there's different ways you can get to your accommodation if you're in Montreal. First of all, there's a bus. And by the way, the Accueil Plus or Welcome Plus service is there to help you with those sort of things. They have agents who used to be, for most of them, international students themselves. They're working there, and they're in the public arrival sector of the airport, and they can tell you on how to get to your place. You can take a taxi or you can take the bus. There's a bus that leaves on a regular basis from the airport to the metro station, and it's quite cheap and quite quick as well.
When we are, question from Lisa, when we are in Canada, what documents should we work with on our days to day life? Should we always carry our passport everywhere we go?
It's a good question. I don't know, Mathieu, do you want to take this one or no?
No, I think I will let you go with this one.
Okay. No, the answer is don't bring your passport every day. It's not something that that police controls, or I know it's like that in some countries. but not here. So really, the passport, you have it with you when you arrive, but once you arrive at your place, keep it safely there. Um, you don't have to carry your study permit with you at all times, or CAQ at all times. What a lot of students do, just for convenience purposes, they take a picture of the documents and they keep it on their phone sometimes in order to do some steps with the school, or it's useful. But you might need to have those documents with you when, let's say, you go and you open a bank account, like for the first few days when you're sort of settling down, opening accounts. That's something that you should perhaps carry with you. But in your day-to-day life, once you're settled down, the school has started, it's not something that you should bring with you. Um, so the rest of the time, it's credit cards, uh, bank cards, perhaps if you are admissible to the public health system in Quebec, which will not be the case, I guess, for most of you. Um, well, just if you're admissible to the RAMQ, it's called, you can keep your RAMQ card with you. Other than that, I don't think that you should be bringing with you a lot of documents on a day-to-day basis.
Okay,
Cédric,
we have.
Cédric, do you agree?
Yes, I agree, because even myself, I didn't work with my passport.
You don't walk. No, that's it. You don't walk with your passport. That's it. Yeah.
No. Okay, thank you so much. There is a question that from Sima. Is there any possibility of getting a letter arrival letter from Polytechnic when we arrive after August 29 to show the official?
It's something that we did during the pandemic because the controls at the borders were much harsher, and there were a lot of proofs that you needed to give the border agent. Uh, you, at this point, they're not asking for those kinds of letter anymore. So since they're not needed, we're not providing the students with those letters. I mean, it's written at various places on our website, in our communications with you, that the last possible day arrival is September the 12th. So if needed, you can show those documents to the border agents. But no, we're not doing those letters because they're not needed anymore.
Okay, thank you. Do you need the question from Hammer? Do you need to have any accommodation for the entire state up arrival?
No, it's not going to be necessary. Just having a address for the place you will stay, maybe for the first few days when you will arrive in Montreal or in Canada is going to be enough, but you don't need it because most of you will not have, do not have already a address where you will stay for your whole entire stay in Canada.
We do recommend that you
Okay.
have a temporary place for
Yeah.
the first few days, perhaps at least for the 10 first days, since if you are tested for COVID-19 and you get sick, you'll need to isolate yourself for 10 days. So at least for, like, let's say the first 2 weeks, have a temporary place. But other than that, no, you can, as Mathieu, you said, you can look when you arrive here for a permanent place. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think we have a last one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, podcasting that tomorrow. I'm gonna wait for the question because all the question that I have here is concerning insurance, health insurance.
Well, we can say a few words about health insurance. It's okay since we do have the information with us. We're not going to go into great details, but I can at least explain. The all Polytechnic international students are automatically registered to what we call ASHEE, which is our health and hospitalization insurance for international students. Okay, so anyone who arrives on August the 15th or later can consider themselves automatically registered to that insurance. They don't need to do anything to be registered. Some students, as we explained, also can benefit from exemption from that insurance, which, by the way, costs $900 for the whole year, or around $375, if I'm not mistaken, for one-term exchange students. And students coming from countries such as Sweden, for example, or France or Belgium, they have what we call agreements between bilateral agreements between their government and the Quebec government, where they can, once they arrive here, upon presentation of a letter saying that they were registered in the public healthcare system in their country, once they arrive here, they can register to the public health insurance in Quebec. So it's called Social Security Agreement. So once these students arrive here, they register for our public healthcare system. They get a proof that they are registered. And if they bring it by September 12th, they won't be charged for the international students' healthcare. So so basically that's it. So you can consider by default registered to that insurance if you arrive on August 15th or later. And unless you take any steps to show that you can benefit from an exemption from that, you remain registered to it.
Okay, thank you so much. The question for Sima asking that when we arrive in Montreal, is it necessary to introduce ourselves to the university?
Well, if you look, there's on the GoPoly website, there's a really interesting section called the New Student Journey, which really details you step by step what you need to do for the upcoming year. What are the documents that you need to provide? If you need to attend some special events upon arrival, it will say. So I really suggest that all of you connected to go on the GoPoly website and visit that section because it will guide you step by step in what you need to do.
Okay.
But the short answer to that question is that once you arrive in Canada, we don't need you to come to our office and say I arrived. That's the
No,
short
just
answer.
don't forget to maybe just upload your immigration documents.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the registrar's office
Or
because it will need.
send it by email. Yeah.
Yeah, by
Yeah.
email to the
Yeah.
registrar's office.
Okay. If I arrive, the question from Sima again. If I arrive on September 7th, what kind of document I should show to the officer at the airport?
All the documents that we stated before in
Yep.
the presentation.
It's not going to be different.
It's not going to be different. And once again, if for your own convenience, you would rather have some kind of proof that you can arrive until September 12th, show them our website, show them the information saying that you have until September 12th to arrive here. You can look on the GoPoly website under the section Arrival in Canada. And it's clearly stated, it's one of the first things that we write. You have until September 12th to arrive in Canada. If you arrive later than that, you will need to defer your arrival to the winter term.
Thank you so much.
I think we're good with the questions. I think
There's the question. Another question for
yeah.
this is insurance again, but I don't know if you're gonna answer to this. If the family of student is also a company, what about the insurance?
Okay. The insurance provided by Polytechnic only concerns the student. So the international, the health and hospitalizations insurance really just can be for the student. So under such circumstances, if you are coming with your spouse, and or accompanying children. You can buy your own family package insurance and show the proof to the registrar's office by September 12th that you have your own insurance. And in this way, you will not have to pay for the Polytechnic International Students hospitalization and health insurance. That's only possible if you're coming with families. Students coming alone cannot say, oh, I'm going to buy my own insurance and I prefer another insurance than Polytechnic's insurance. And under such circumstances, you need to take our insurance. But if you are coming with a spouse or with children, you can do that. That information is available again on the international section, international students section of the Polytechnic website. We have a special section dedicated to insurances, and you have all the details, and we even named the name of a few companies that you can contact for quotes.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. As we don't have a question or person entry, that there is a many questions for insurance here. Just let me remind the student that there will be a special webinar of insurance and health insurance that you can ask, that you can attend and ask more of questions. But as you still asking for this question, we don't have any question here, but we're gonna try to answer to your question now. We have another question that which is concern insurance. Does the insurance provide coverage only in Quebec or everywhere in Canada?
To my knowledge, it covers Quebec, because if you leave Quebec, then you're considered it's kind of there's a travel insurance part
Yeah.
in our policy. So you fall under the travel insurance part of the insurance. So it covers you for destinations outside of Quebec for a very limited number of days. You have the description of the policy for our insurance on our website. So once again, I invite you to go see the description of our insurance policy on the International Student website under insurances. You'll get the full picture.
Okay, thank you.
I see a very long question
Yes.
here
Yes, yes. I don't know if
from
you're gonna answer for that
from
from
Varun.
Sorry,
Varun, you seem to have some concerns. You can contact us, okay, at SAP International. If it's academic questions, well, we will most likely not be the one to be able to answer your question, but at least we'll be able to tell you where to write or transfer your request to the right person.
Okay, thank you so much. As you can see as you can see in front of you the presentation, there is an email that you can send your question.
Right.
It is better for you, Vacuum, to write your question and all explanation about what are you worrying about, and you'll get a full answer about your question.
Yeah. I think we're going to soon running at the end of the presentation. So I would perhaps switch to the next slide, close the presentation and switch to our next steps, basically, to conclude the presentation. So we just wrote you a few advice here on that you can see on the screen. A few advice to help you with the upcoming weeks. So first of all, we ask you to follow the latest updates on the IRCC websites if you are arriving at a later date in Montreal, so that you remain aware of any changes that might occur before you arrive here. There will be plenty of other Go Poly webinars in the upcoming days and couple of weeks. Some of them on topics that relate especially to international students, like cultural adaptation, academic adaptation for graduate students from international background. So we really advise you to watch them either live or watch their recordings. You are receiving on a regular basis already the GoPoly newsletters, so please make sure that you read them so that you can remain aware of all the important information that you need to know in order to start your program. And there are lots of welcome activities that are planned on campus for you. That will start as of the end of August. So really, we strongly recommend that you attend them because they will help you with your integration process. This way, you'll be able to know other students, to quickly get acquainted with your new environment. So it's really a good introduction for the start of your program. And we're preparing a festive evening for international students. So there's 2 dates available. You choose the one that you prefer. So make sure that you sign up for that event also. It's going to be full of surprise and opportunities to meet and mingle with other international students. So that's all that I had to say for now. So I'll pass on the conclusion to Cédric.
Okay. As it's now time to this webinar before conclude, I would like to mention that, dear students, if you still have questions, you can visit the site GoPoly website that you can see here on the screen. That visit the site and you'll get more information about the question that you have, or the question that was already answered, or frequently asking question. And then if you still have a special question or any question that you have, please you can write us on the GoPoly team info out Polytechnic Poly CA. So also please note that the recording of this webinar will be available on GoPoly website. If there in the section that webinar and activity, you can see all of the webinar that already passed, the webinar that is coming soon. All of the webinar will be recording and they will be available on our site. But before closing, I would like to thank you so, Amélie. Thank you so much, and Mathieu for the hosting for this presentation. That you already answered for all the questions, for taking your time to answer to the question for our new students. That we are excited to see them soon in Polytechnic Montreal. And dear students, thank you so much for your participation. We are so very happy today to be together with you. At the place you are, I want to wish you good evening, a good day, and thank you so much. And see you for our next webinar site on GoPoly. Be welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cédric, and thank you everyone for attending. We're really looking forward to meeting you on campus this fall.
Thank you so much.
See you.
See you.